It's time again for the Insiders with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.
I'm former Assembly Speaker Scott Jensen.
I'm former Senate Majority Leader Chuck Chvala.
And we're the Insiders. And this week, the Insiders are talking about whether or not they're going to get a deal on property tax relief in Madison. The state has a large surplus. Everyone but the governor is up for re-election this fall. You and I have talked before. We think it's in the interest of both parties to get a deal here. Do you think one's going to happen, Chuck?
Well, actually, I think that you just said a mouthful when you said the governor is not up for election. If the governor wanted to, he doesn't need to do any of this, because what's going to happen here is there's going to be a Democratic governor and I believe two Democratic houses, and they can spend that money next year and do it just the way they want to do it. Why would he negotiate with Robin Voss? Now, the governor wants this for his legacy, so the governor will want a deal. But the governor has more negotiating leverage now on this deal than he has on anything. It's all over. Everything is done. This is the last piece. And if that's the last piece to go, he doesn't have to do this. Because at the end of the day, I am sure that there are some Democrats whispering in his ear saying, governor, and of course not the candidates for governor because they don't want to offend him, but I wouldn't be surprised if there are some legislative leaders saying, Gov, you don't need to do this. The Republicans have driven property taxes through the roof. Don't bail them out at the last end here. And show them again, Robin Voss will claim it's a bipartisan deal. Don't do it. And there's a chance that he will do it. Now, that's not what we're hearing. Governor Evers, as we've always talked about, is probably the nicest man who's ever served as governor. And he doesn't play that way. He doesn't he doesn't want to take an advantage politically on this stuff. But I'll tell you what, I think he has a situation where he doesn't have to accept anything that isn't exactly what he wants. And frankly, Robin Voss and the Republicans are in a position they absolutely need to be able to tell Wisconsinites these crazy high property taxes you're seeing and all of these referenda that you've passed all across the state, not just in Madison, those things are going to be a situation where Robin Voss has to give these folks cover if they're going to come back. And I'm sure he's promised that to them. So the governor can hang tough. I think they'll get a deal, but it's going to be because Robin Voss is going to have to do it. And that is going to be a very different dynamic than what we've seen in the past.
Well, I do think it's in the interest of everybody who's on the ballot again in the fall to try to get a deal on property taxes now. The Republicans have clearly shown their interest in doing it, right? They dropped their demand that the governor get rid of his 400-year veto. They've said, okay, we'll put enough money in to cover the special education number that we agreed to back in the budget. What's left is how do you achieve tax relief? And the Republicans are somewhat split themselves on it. Some want to just send checks back to people. Other people want to just buy down the property tax bill. The governor would prefer to spend money on schools and have that trickle down and effectively lower the property tax bill. But I think you are right, Chuck, that there are Democrats like you who are way, way too confident that they're going to win both houses of the legislature and the governorship, and they want that big surplus sitting there when they put together the budget for next year, because they're making a whole lot of promises in this election that they're going to need a lot of cash for. And so they're saying to the governor, why would you give this money back to the taxpayers? We're going to need it for this laundry list of stuff that we're campaigning on all across the state. So I agree with it that this is problematic. I will say this, though. The polling shows from the Marquette poll for the last 2 years, for the first time in decades, more voters want property tax relief than want more money going to the schools. And Governor Evers' position is we're going to achieve property tax relief by giving more money to the schools, but that's not where the voters are on this issue. And I mean, this is going to be interesting to see if they can get to a deal. I hope that they do. Clearly, the taxpayers deserve it.
I think that there's a middle ground there that voters really want, which is we want property tax relief delivered on our property tax bill so we don't see this bill at the end of the year, unlike the Republicans who want to send a check back. And they also want their schools taken care of. And by the way, money sent to schools at this point does deliver property tax relief because they are limited. They are allowed to have the money that Governor Evers has
unless
made sure
to go to referendum.
Anything they have for a referendum. So the money that goes back is going to go to property tax relief. And I think the governor is going to hang tough on this. I don't see why he wouldn't. And he's going to have a lot of Democrats saying that too. And by the way, this is a Democrat saying we don't want this done. They're saying they want it done, but only the right way. And the right way is going to be their way. And you know what? The public punishes the majority party when things are not where they should be. So at the end of the day, what would that be? That would be the governor, but he's not up for election. And it would be Republicans in the Senate and the Assembly. So the bottom line here is the Republicans have forced property taxes, forced them through the roof, and given all sorts of other relief. We're among the lowest in the country in terms of our overall tax burden now at state and local government level. People know they're being screwed on their property tax bill on schools. And I think you're going to see the governor get them some relief because Robin Vos and the Republicans cannot afford to not do this. If they're foolish enough to say, we're going to hang tough, as they have in the past, and they don't go with what the governor says, and the governor says, hey, I want this only for property tax relief, they will face the wrath of the voters in November. And I think that the Democrats, although we're capable of messing it up, I think we'll be able to deliver that message for November.
Well, I think you're a little overexcited here, Chuck. If you take a look at that Marquette poll, it says, who do you blame for higher property taxes? Is it the governor's 400-year veto, or is it the fact that the Republicans didn't put enough money into school aids? And you know what the answer was? 50-49. Like there's not like a clear, decisive win on either side of that. Both parties will point fingers at each other. Neither one is likely to get an advantage if no deal is done. I think it's smart Scott, for everyone to try to get something done.
Here's the problem with that analysis, Scott. You're right. It's the 400-year veto. The Republicans have spent months, a year, more than a year, saying this is Governor Evers. Guess what? He's not on the ballot. So it's going to be not 50-49, it's going to be 49-0. 49% people are not going to be happy with the Republicans. And it's just one more issue to add to the broad range of things that Democrats are going to have to run against Republicans this fall. I think that this is one where the governor is going to get his way because Republicans realize you cannot go into this election and not have property tax relief delivered in the property tax bill, which, by the way, will arrive after the election.
I'm just impressed at the confidence of the Democrats. I assume you guys should just say, let's save money and not even have elections and just declare us the winners. I think you're going to find out the elections are a lot tougher than you expect.
We'll see you next time, folks.
You've been listening to The Insider with Chuck Chvala and Scott Jensen, sponsored by the Wisconsin Counties Association and the Tommy G. Thompson Center on Public Leadership.